Hello, everyone. Welcome into Soapbox Tonight, where reality checks are free, but disbelief will cost you your sanity. Has anyone else looked around lately and thought we are officially living in Bizzarro land? I mean, some mornings I wake up, open the news, and wonder if I accidentally clicked into the parody section. Case in point, earlier this week I found myself doing something I never do. I was agreeing with Bill Gates. Yes, that's right, that same Bill Gates. It's okay. I sat down for a while afterwards. Don't panic. It was just one very small, very specific point that we agreed on. You see, Gates had said that this constant doomsday outlook on climate change, all the apocalyptic, the end is nigh talk, is actually diverting resources away from the most effective ways to help people in need. That's honestly true. Now, that's where my agreement with him both starts and ends. But still, when I realized that I agreed with Bill Gates on anything, I knew something in the universe had shifted. Somewhere a Windows update had started installing itself automatically on my soul. And I thought, well, why stop there? At this rate, next thing you know, I'll be ordering avocado toast with Greta Thunberg and asking Al Gore for stock tips. And we are really in bizarre territory now. A court ruling once again has had to formally state that animals are not people. That's right, taxpayer dollars went towards deciding that chimpanzees do not have human rights. Now look, I love animals, but when we've reached the point where a judge has to announce a monkey is not a man, then maybe civilization's gotten a little too ironic, even for me. And finally, this one's my favorite, but New York Governor Kathy Hochul recently heard a crowd chanting, "Tax the rich," and somehow thought they were cheering, "Let's go Bills." Now that's not even satire, folks. That's just Tuesday in America. But honestly, I get it. That kind of thing it happens to me all the time. The other day, I was leaving the grocery store. The clerk was waving and shouting after me, so naturally I turned around and shouted back, "Let's go Bills." Well, it turns out she wasn't cheering for football at all. She was in fact saying, "Sir, you have to pay for that before you leave." Just this morning, I had another example. I get up, my wife's in the kitchen, cup of coffee in hand, smile on her face. She said something to me, so naturally I reply, "Let's go Bills." Well, it turns out she actually said, "Go pay the bills." So at least I was close this time. But you know, while we're all laughing at the absurdity, there's another kind of bizarre happening, one that's just not so funny. Did anyone else catch the headline that I did? The U.S. has now hit $38 trillion in national debt. Yeah, that is after one of the fastest accumulations of $1 trillion in debt outside of the pandemic years. So now I read that and thought, what's the interest got to be like on all that? Because I know my credit card looked like after that, I'd be on the phone with a debt relief hotline before you could say continuing resolution. And that's when it hit me. I'm always hearing about these debt hotline commercials all the time. Call now, lower your payments, get your life back. So is no one in the government doing this? Or are they all just too good to call? Oh, wait, that's right. They're not even at work right now. We're currently in week 5 of the government shutdown after Democrats blocked the funding bill for the 12th time. So since no one in Washington is picking up the phone, I decided I'll do it myself. Earlier today, I called up the debt relief hotline on behalf of the United States government to talk to them about our national debt. Well, why don't you give a listen? Here's how that went. Calling the National Debt Relief Hotline. This is Todd. How can I help you today? Hi, yes. I'd like to consolidate my debt and lower my interest rate. Absolutely. I can help you with that. Can I start with your name and account number? Well, I don't have an account. I'm calling about the entire U.S. national debt. Excuse me? What now? The national debt. Trillions of dollars. And I was hoping you could consolidate it, maybe get us a better interest rate. Your commercials made it sound so easy. We usually deal with personal credit cards, medical bills, student loans. Right, but this is basically the ultimate credit card. Nobody's been paying it off for decades. Surely you can help. Let me see. Okay, we don't normally handle government level debts. Maybe I can escalate this to a senior specialist. Perfect. And while you're at it, can you refinance it? Maybe a lower APR. Something reasonable, like 1.5%. I mean, if you can do it for people with 3 credit cards and a car loan, I'm confident we can work out something for Uncle Sam. Sir, that's highly unusual. The national debt is massive. Massive, yes. But think of the PR. Help me lower the interest, suddenly you're the heroes. Debt Whisperers of America. Has a nice ring to it, doesn't it? I'll put in a request. Do you want to consolidate all the individual treasury bonds or just the general obligations? Let's start with the general obligations. If that works, we can cross-subsidize with the special purpose bonds, maybe even throw in a little quantitative easing for fun. Keep things spicy. This is very unusual. Well, that's why you called me. Nobody in Congress seems up for it. I'm happy to step in. Okay, sir, I've noted your request. A senior specialist will call you probably never. Great. I'll be waiting by the phone with a cup of coffee and a spreadsheet. And maybe a stress ball shaped like the Treasury building, just to keep it interesting. Sir, can you at least provide an estimated budget for consolidation? Well, I was thinking, if we can negotiate the interest down to 1.5 and maybe get a 2-year zero payment promotional period, that should free up enough cash to fund a modest stimulus package and maybe a parade or two. I'm not sure how to handle parades. Oh, don't worry, that's the fun part. The spreadsheets handle the serious stuff. Parades are purely discretionary. And that's how you know you've been on hold with America for way too long. Stick around. Tonight we're talking about where the country is going and whether anyone's steering this ship or if the captain's just yelling, "Let's go Bills," as we hit the iceberg. This is Soapbox Tonight, and we're going to get straight into our first segment here. Still going right through the rabbit hole, deep into Bizzarro land, where up is down, wrong is celebrated, and somehow Joe Biden got a Lifetime Achievement Award. Yes, that actually happened in Boston. The Edward M. Kennedy Institute, Lifetime Achievement for Joe Biden. Now, in a world where irony has gone to die, that's the headline. And the speech, well, it didn't disappoint either. He used the moment to warn us all, quote, dark days, and to urge Americans to, quote, get back up. According to the official storyline, this was a solemn call for unity, a reflection on attacks on free speech, tests on executive power, and the need for strong institutions. A presidency with limited power, a Congress that functions, a judiciary that stands tall, all very noble, all very inspiring, and all, mind you, coming from the man who's been inside those same halls longer than most of us have been alive. He spoke of Republicans defying Trump, federal employees resigning in protests, comedians under fire, late-night hosts defending free speech. He said these are dark days and that America needs to get back up. Well, Mr. Joe Biden, if these are dark days, you sure helped dim the lights. Because here, apparently in Bizzarro land, when you break it, you get an award for fixing it. When you preside over the storm, you get congratulated for bringing an umbrella. The Lifetime Achievement Award, that's the punchline. Because when the Kennedy Institute says lifetime achievement, they don't specify whose lifetime or what achievement. Maybe it's for keeping Hunter out of prison. Maybe it's for convincing half the country the laptop never existed. Or maybe, just maybe, for pioneering the government's first self-signing presidency. The Auto Pen Administration, a presidency so automated even the pen has plausible deniability. So here's a list of just a few of the other honors that didn't make it onto the plaque. Lifetime Achievement in Delegation, because nothing says hands-on leadership like not even touching the pen. Lifetime Achievement in Pardon Distribution, thousands of clemencies signed faster than anyone could say classified. Lifetime Achievement in Family and Friends Plan, because protecting your own has always been bipartisan, at least here in Bizzarro land. Lifetime Achievement in Narrative Control, the art of calling them dark days while you're the one who dimmed the bulbs. So, Mr. Joe Biden, congratulations on a lifetime of achievement in darkness. And now, if you'll excuse me, I think this moment calls for the recognition it truly deserves. Insert slow clap here. Well done, sir. Really. You have made history for all the wrong reasons. And coming up next, we'll be asking a simple question. If this is what passes for achievement, what do we give out for accountability? It's time now on Soapbox Tonight for everyone's favorite constitutional tidbits. You ever feel like some state governments just, go way overboard? Well, welcome to the world of state constitutions. Strap in. Take Alabama, for instance. Their constitution isn't just long, it's a full-on epic. Over 300,000 words. That's War and Peace. Twice. And it's still got amendments about everything from taxes to who can fish where. Seriously, you might retire before you make it to page 2. Then there's Louisiana. Ever since the way back when of 1974, they've managed to tack on over 100 amendments. 100. It's like they're updating the monopoly rules every month just because someone sneezed on Park Place. They're constantly in beta, forever rewriting the playbook. And just when you think you've seen it all, there's Georgia. Parts of their constitution are so mind-numbingly local, they literally tell a single city how to handle its budget. Yeah, your town council told exactly how to balance a checkbook. Big government meets small town obsession. So next time someone moans about bureaucracy, next time your city council gets a little picky, remember, some states didn't just write the book on being extra, they wrote the encyclopedia. An epic, footnote-laden, fish-regulating, monopoly updating, budget-managing extra encyclopedia. And yes, I mean it literally. So time is winding down on us, folks, so strap in. We are now down to the wire in the New York City mayoral race. Just one single week left. Early voting has already gotten underway, and here's what the scene is looking like. You got Andrew Cuomo, your centrist establishment pick, versus Zoran Mandani, a 34-year-old Democratic socialist whose campaign platform reads like a combination of fantasy budgeting 101 and a wish list from Willy Wonka. Mondani promises to freeze rent, give free childcare, free public transport, even city-run grocery stores. And how does he plan to pay for all this? Well, higher taxes on corporations and the wealthy, of course. Sounds great if you like free stuff. Kind of like a city-sponsored candy store. But hold on, can it actually work? Or is this just another episode here in Bizzarro Land, where fantasy and reality are having a slow-motion collision today? Housing experts warn that Mondani's rent freeze proposal, while appealing, may be undermined by rising insurance premiums, potentially negating any savings for tenants. Exactly the problem. Rent might be frozen, but bills will still be soaring. Critics are also lining up to say this could blow a hole in the city's budget bigger than King Kong on a rampage. But somehow, here we are. Somehow in our weird Bizzarro Land version of America right now, this race is actually tight. A candidate promising literal candy for everyone. Yet this race is a toss-up. You can't make this stuff up. And their latest debate, it was surreal. Like watching a circus act in very expensive suits. The sparkle of campaign promises doesn't erase reality, especially when economists are waving red flags bigger than the ones in a bullfighting arena. Some economists note if Mondani's policies lead to economic instability in New York City, and let's face it, they are, it could have a ripple effect across the nation's financial landscape. So this isn't just about New York. New York is still the financial hub of the United States. A Mondani victory could embolden far-left movements nationwide. It could spook investors, push businesses to flee, maybe even start a domino effect we're only beginning to imagine. And yet, here we are, with a race so close it feels like we are in Bizzarro Land and took a wrong turn and set up a polling station. And this is not just happening in isolation in New York City either, folks. Keep your eyes on San Francisco, where candidates are promising universal basic income and turning housing debates into a spectacular sport. Chicago, too. The mayoral race has become a masterclass in social service one-upsmanship, complete with promises that sound like they belong in a comic book. And Los Angeles, yes, LA, where homelessness and housing affordability debates are giving rise to candidates with socialist-leaning platforms that would make your grandma drop her knitting in disbelief. The ideas Mondani is pitching, they're creeping across city limits like vines on a brick wall faster than a TikTok dance craze. And somehow this is all being treated like normal. Normal is overrated anyway, right? So here's the million-dollar question. What does it say about our culture, about our country, if our voters are willing to embrace policies that could have these major unintended consequences just because they sound good? Because let's be honest, a Mondani win would be a tipping point. As one analyst put it, Mondani's victory can mark a turning point in American urban politics, challenging traditional economic models and governance structures. High stakes, high drama, and yes, a generous sprinkling of Bizzarro Land madness. Grab your popcorn, folks. The whole country should be watching. All right, let's take a look around the economy this week. And by look around, I mean stare for a minute, blink a few times, and quietly ask yourself, is any of this real? September inflation came in at 3%, or just up a touch from August. Gasoline by itself rose 4.1%, so your wallet might feel just a little bit lighter depending on how much you're driving. Core inflation, that's without food and energy, held steady at 3%, a lot better than anticipated. Close enough for polite applause from the economist, apparently. Meanwhile, the Federal Reserve is expected to cut short-term rates by 1/4 point this week. Their reasoning: make borrowing cheaper, keep people spending, and somehow keep the economy moving forward. Job growth slowing? Labor market wobbling? Minor details. The Fed's rates are behaving politely, and that's about all we can say for the moment. Wall Street, on the other hand, is having a very different week. The Dow just cleared 47,000 for the first time ever. Why? Well, optimism over the U.S.-China trade talks. Tech companies somehow still making money on things nobody thought were profitable. Investors are ecstatic. The rest of us check our accounts and say, sure, okay. China is seeing a surge too. China's industrial profits have surged 21.6% year over year this September. Biggest jump in nearly 2 years. Factories are streamlined, efficiency improved, and profits have exploded. Meanwhile, most of us are still figuring out why our own bills feel like someone else's bonus. In trade talks, well, Mexico and Trump, they extended a tariff deadline, more time to negotiate, more things we were already arguing about. Canada, not so lucky. An ad involving Reagan caused enough confusion, and suddenly the talks were over. Just like that. So that's the economy this week. Inflation nudging up, rates dropping, stocks hitting records, profits booming overseas, and trade talks somewhere in the background. Yet somehow we're expected to treat all of this as normal. And maybe even nod politely while we do it. It's the kind of week where you double check the headlines and think, really? This is the world I'm living in? And yet, here we are. And speaking of here we are, a quick glance at the clock tells me we are nearly out of time, so it is time to head on over to the Headline Roundup. Headline Roundup tonight, as always, is brought to you by BB's Pager Emporium, home of the explosively good deals. Here's a look at some headlines we aren't getting into tonight, but you definitely should not scroll past. In Georgia, a Georgia officer has fatally shot a man who was attacking a firefighter. This happened in Wrightsville, Georgia. A police officer fatally shot a man swinging a machete at a firefighter outside a convenience store. The firefighter was seriously injured, but is expected to survive. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation is handling the case. Terrifying situation, and one where quick action saved lives. Out of New York, the New York Attorney General is encouraging everyone to report ICE activity. New York Attorney General Letitia James has launched a portal for residents to report ICE actions through photos, videos, and whatever. The move comes after a raid in Manhattan that resulted in 4 U.S. citizens being detained. James says it's about transparency. But critics argue it's about making it harder for law enforcement to do their jobs. And out of Baja California, a drone attack hits Baja California Attorney General's office. In Tijuana, a drone strike hit the California State Attorney General's office, damaging several vehicles. No injuries have been reported. Authorities suspect cartel involvement. It's the latest reminder that narco violence in the region is evolving, and drones are now part of the arsenal. And following up briefly on that tragic story out of Charlotte involving a young lady being stabbed to death on the light rail, federal indictments are coming in that case. The man who was seen on video on the Charlotte light rail brutally stabbing to death 23-year-old Ukrainian refugee Irina Zarutska will be facing federal indictments. The charges that he will be facing include violence against a railroad carrier resulting in death. This man is a repeat offender with a history of mental illness and now faces both federal and state charges. Well, isn't it about time? This was a horrific, unprovoked act in public, and authorities are treating it with the full weight of the law. And that's your headline roundup for the week. We'll be doing the same thing come next week, looking at all the stories we just don't have time to talk about, but somehow are going to anyway. And that is the show for this week. Want to thank all of you for joining us and tuning in to Soapbox Tonight, your weekly trip down the rabbit hole of Bizzarro land. And don't forget, our 3-night deep dive into the national debt starts tomorrow. Interest, cost, consequences. We're breaking it all down one absurd trillion at a time. Stay curious, stay informed, and stay skeptical. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same chaos.